2006 saw the airing of the first episode of what would eventually be the legendary TV show Avatar: The Last Airbender. Oh god, that came out in 2006? I'm old. Avatar: The Last Airbender has made waves within the world of children's media with its serious discussions of trauma, revenge, and most importantly and impactfully, redemption. I mean, Zuko probably has the best redemption arc of any character ever. This show was a game changer in children's media and enjoyed by family members of all ages, even for people like M. Night Shyamalan, who apparently loved the show so much he wanted to make a movie based off of it. Thankfully, that movie definitely did not come out in 2010. There is no film in Ba Sing Se. Fans of Avatar: The Last Airbender did get a sequel series eventually, which followed the next Avatar, Korra, as she tried to balance things in an increasingly complicated post-Aang world. The sequel series, Legend of Korra, was met with, let's just say, less than enthusiastic responses from the Avatar fanbase. I mean, come on, Legend of Korra? Really? How long did it take them to come up with that imaginative title, I wonder? Now, you may be wondering why I'm even talking about Avatar: The Last Airbender or The Legend of Korra. After all, Nickelodeon is a subsidiary of Paramount Pictures, which is a struck company in the WGA and SAG strike. And to that I say, you are such a very knowledgeable commenter. Thank you for reminding me. But I'm actually only mentioning those TV shows to give context to the book. Yes, I said book, that I'll be discussing today. I do know how to read, thank you very much. Where are my glasses? What did I do with them? You see, Avatar: The Last Airbender and its sequel series were so popular that they spawned a book series which details the lives of avatars that came before Aang and Korra. The world building in both TV shows was so good that there are over 200 avatars about whom they can write. Smart talk like that is thanks to my editor. You think I'm a smart bitch? I am a bimbo at best! And with which avatar did they start? Was it Avatar Roku, who single-handedly sharked the whole world up by allowing his best friend, the Fire Lord, to colonize everything?
One of them's my friend!
Of course it wasn't. Roku sharking sucks. No, they started with a legitimate fan favorite, Avatar Kyoshi, killer of Jin the Conqueror. And apparently, several others. Read the books, you'll see. Almost every other page found me saying, well, that guy's dead. The Avatar Kyoshi books were so well liked that they moved on to discuss Avatar Yang Chen as well, completely skipping over Avatar Karuk because honestly, Karuk sucks too. Shark you, Karuk, you know what you did. But it's Avatar Kyoshi that I want to focus on because after reading the two books about her life, I found myself realizing that we may have yet another instance of something you all should be familiar with after my recent video regarding a certain character in Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. That's right, we're back to exploring autism coding. Yes, you heard me, I think Avatar Kyoshi might be autistic. And how are we going to decide if she is or is not? By destroying my liver again! Woo! Before we start getting sharked up, let's establish the rules of the drinking game. Like many people who exist in the Avatar universe, Avatar Kyoshi is what one might call eloquently a traumatized bitch. And hey Kyoshi, me too, bestie. Because Kyoshi has just a dash of trauma, we're going to go with the same rules as last time we played this game. For every trait that Kyoshi exhibits that can be considered autistic coding, I will take one shot, but only if trauma would not be a valid alternative explanation.
Everybody got that?
Number 1. Kyoshi is canonically disabled. Have you ever wondered why Kyoshi's weapon of choice is a pair of metal fans? Well, it's not just because they're both fierce and fashionable, though they most definitely are. Her fans are actually an accessibility tool because Kyoshi is canonically disabled. Despite being a very powerful bender, able to bend tectonic plates for one, she can't bend anything small. One quote from the book says that Kyoshi can move mountains, but not lift a single pebble. Now you may be thinking, she has superpowers, that's not a disability. But within Kyoshi's world, there's a strict hierarchy where your bending capabilities can affect your ability to get a job, maintain a job, or receive any kind of social power. With Kyoshi being unable to earthbend as well as normal earthbenders, she's heavily limited by what she can do in society. They even refer to it as a disability in-universe. Okay, so Kyoshi is canonically disabled, so what? That doesn't mean that she's autistic. Well, metaphorically. The reason I use this as an example for Kyoshi being autistic is because oftentimes autistic people grasp big concepts while getting lost in the tiny details. Kyoshi can bend mountains, but she can't lift a pebble. I can understand the concept of conversation, back and forth exchange between two people, but I can't understand the intricacies of social cues that change within conversations. See? Metaphor.
Metaphor. Sorta.
And in my opinion, that metaphor is worth a shot. Oh! Number 2, Kyoshi thinks in extremes. Throughout most of the book, Kyoshi only thinks in extremes. People either like her or they hate her. She's either good at things or she's terrible at them. Kyoshi's world is a never-ending stream of black and white. This even applies to Kyoshi's emotions. When she feels things, she doesn't just feel them normally. When she's happy, she cries tears of joy. When she's sad, she's devastated. When she's angry, she screams literal fire out of her mouth. Dear God, do not piss off this woman. Feeling big emotions is a common form of black and white thinking with autistic people. It's often why we struggle with what I like to call gray or in-between emotions like frustration or mild annoyance. Things don't mildly annoy me, they aggravate me to no end. You may be thinking, feeling big emotions doesn't make you autistic. And you're right. Each symptom is just a piece of the puzzle to make one whole autistic person. If you have one autistic trait, you have one autistic trait. If you have multiple, though, you may be autistic. And that is worth one shot. I gotta get better cue. Number 3, Kyoshi has hyperempathy. You may wonder how someone who killed Jin the Conqueror and then basically said, "And do it again," could possibly have empathy, let alone hyperempathy. But Kyoshi repeatedly puts herself more at risk and in more danger to keep her friends safe and happy. Trigger warning for terrible pronunciation coming up. When Jianzhu, the man who is training the false avatar Yun, basically tells Kyoshi that he would hunt her down if she created doubt within people about Yun's legitimacy as the avatar, Kyoshi's main concern wasn't that someone threatened to kill her. She was concerned for Yun, his feelings, and how she could make him feel better about potentially not being the avatar. When people treat her like crap throughout the second book for being the wrong avatar, she's still mostly concerned with how they feel, even at the expense of her own emotional and psychological health. This is the real struggle with hyper-empathy. It's not just crying at the fact that you left behind the ugly potato and are now worried that it'll never be loved. It's putting other people consistently ahead of yourself because you can't stand to see other people hurt. But this is not strictly an autism trait. This is also very commonly found in people who experience trauma, and Kyoshi is, as I said earlier, a traumatized bitch. My liver fights another day! Unlike Jin the Conqueror. Number 4, Kyoshi always says the wrong thing. No matter what the situation is, Kyoshi always seems to accidentally say the wrong thing that sharks everything up. And honestly, relatable. There's a reason that diplomacy is not a word in Kyoshi's language, okay? And it's because she just can't. She inevitably ends up saying the wrong thing that sharks up the relationship completely, whether she's talking to her village bullies, the Earth Nation diplomats, spirits, undead former friends, and so on. Kyoshi just can't seem to say the right thing, and it's not for lack of trying. She knows that being a bridge between worlds and nations is one of her main roles as the Avatar, but it's a job with which she consistently struggles. Kyoshi is also very aware when she messes up conversations, but can almost never understand how. That, my friends, is an autism trait. Trait? Oh my god, I can't believe this sharked up already. Oh goodness. Oh god, I'm puking tonight. Number 5. Kyoshi is bisexual. Okay, listen. I'm not saying that being bisexual means that you're autistic. But if you are bisexual, have you had an autism assessment? That's just a joke, but still, there is a large percentage of LGBTQ plus people in the autism community, since it seems that autistic people are statistically more likely to be LGBT. No one knows why this is, but it is theorized that it could be because for the most part, a lot of ideas we have about the way society is regarding gender and sexuality are heavily based in social constructs, things that autistic people are far less likely to follow, especially if it doesn't make sense to our inner logic or our sense of justice. That, my friends, is worth a shot. No one asked me to do this. I did this myself. And speaking of the inner sense of justice, number 6, Kyoshi has a strong sense of justice. For Kyoshi, there's what everyone else thinks is wrong, and then there's what Kyoshi thinks is wrong. There's what society thinks is acceptable, and then there's what Kyoshi thinks is acceptable. And if Kyoshi thinks what you're doing is wrong or unacceptable, there will be consequences. I swear, out of all the avatars, Kyoshi has the biggest body count. This is proof that the autistic sense of justice is not always as pure as someone wants it to be, and is based entirely on what each autistic person thinks is a violation to their social sense of justice, regardless of what society says. Society would usually say that bad people deserve to be arrested and held for a fair trial and consequences. Kyoshi would say, not that. And her sense of justice is so strong that even when Aang needed her to say that they were innocent of killing Shin the Conqueror, Kyoshi instead basically said, yep, I did it and I'd do it again. Seriously, Kyoshi, dick move. Worthy of a shot, though. Note to self, buy prop tequila. Number 7, Kyoshi struggles to make facial expressions. Avatar Kyoshi repeatedly says throughout the books that she has to constantly make her face a specific expression and is never sure if it works or if the face that she's making is the correct emotion. Do I need to even explain why that's worth a shot? Fine. Okay, autistic people have trouble making facial expressions. Not only do we have difficulty understanding them, but we have trouble making them too. And that's definitely worth a shot. Oh. That last point is such a curious detail that is brought up so frequently throughout the books that it honestly makes me wonder if the author of Rise of Kyoshi was actually doing it on purpose. With how common autism knowledge is these days, especially considering how inaccessible it was 20 years ago, making such heavy notice of autistic traits like difficulty with facial expressions makes me wonder about the authorial intent here. Kyoshi could be canonically autistic. But let's tally up the results. I'm 6 shots in, so do I think Kyoshi is autistic? Well, yes but no. Wah, wah. You see, I do think Kyoshi has signs of autism, but they can't canonically refer to it as autism because that word doesn't exist in their world. They can talk about things like trauma and depression, since both have been extensively studied in the Avatar universe, but they can't describe things like BPD, bipolar disorder, or obsessive compulsive disorder, even if they might exist within a person. Terms and ideas like that just don't exist, especially during the time that Kyoshi was raised. So, is she autistic? Yesn't is complicated. But whether she is or isn't, what I think is the most important thing to say here is this. There has been just so much debate in the fandom about if Aang is stronger than Korra or if Korra is stronger than Aang. And these arguments are just completely silly, since there is not a single avatar that Kyoshi could not absolutely demolish with both hands tied behind her back. Kyoshi supremacy! Ricky out! Hey there, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm f***ed up. This is the last video I'm making before moving to a new apartment. It's kind of exciting and a little scary. And it's a bit of a stressful transition for me. There's so much to do and so much to pay for, like, oh god, food. Why is food so expensive? So if you'd like to support me, you can do that by supporting the channel, which is so easy. Please, just all you have to do is like and subscribe. Tell me who your favorite avatar is. Aang, Korra, One, maybe Yang Chen? I'd be surprised if there's actually a Karuk fan out there. Sorry, Karuk, you're nobody's favorite. Also, if you would like to support the channel with Muns, my Patreon link is down below in the description. We have some tiers as little as $3 per month and some as much as $300, which thank God no one has ever purchased and no one will ever purchase, because that means I don't have to say anything nice about Autism Speaks. Oh, that was not evil laugh worthy.